What's going on, guys? My name is Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to 4 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different. My first impression of British meal etiquette is that you guys tend to be a little bit more formal than we are in the US. I think in general you guys seem to have more rules around eating than we do in the US on average. I'm not really sure if that's accurate or not. That's just the impression I kind of have, but I'm just under the impression that you guys tend to take mealtime a little bit more seriously than we do in the US on average. Please let me know in the comment section, guys, if you think that's accurate or not. I'm not really sure what to expect here, guys. This will be the first time I've explored this topic. Obviously, I know for the most part what they're probably going to say about American meal etiquette. Maybe something new will pop up there as well, but I have no idea about British meal etiquette at all. But like I said, I think we're going to notice that it may be a little bit more serious, a little bit more formal or whatnot. That's just the impression I have. But anyways, guys, like I said, don't know what to expect here. So let's just go ahead and dive in and check out 4 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different.
Then you take the knife, you put it down on the plate, you shift the fork, and you take a bite.
No!
Hello! I'm Cameron from the United States.
Hi, I'm Lauren from the UK.
This feels like a very British thing.
I love it. I'm really excited. When you start your meal, that's it. You just don't let go. They're always in your hands. You need to grab something.
Interesting.
Kind of just like, I don't know, it depends. You can put them here or like gently place them somewhere, maybe like this, and then grab whatever, but most of the time you won't really need to grab anything.
Is that official etiquette? That doesn't seem right.
Why, putting it down?
No. I mean like putting it down, but do you put it down like, isn't there like a certain way that you put them down?
Well, if you put it like this, then you've finished eating.
Okay.
Right.
But if it's kind of like not perfect, then it means you're still going.
Okay, all right.
So maybe you're going to grab some food, something.
Okay, so in the US, we actually shift the knife and fork where they are. So, like the British style, you have the fork in your left hand, the knife in your right hand, you cut it, then you take the knife, you put it down on the plate, you shift the fork.
I guess that's true.
No! Like this?
No. So let's say you're eating a steak.
Okay.
And you would cut it, right? And then after you cut it, you would like stab the meat.
So you cut everything at once
No.
at the start,
This is a long process.
Wow.
This is the official American way. I don't know many Americans that would eat like this in day-to-day life. So with the fork face down, you stick it into the meat, you make your cut. Then, because the meat's on the fork, right, you put your knife down, you switch to your right hand, and then the prongs have to be sticking up. And then you take your bite, and then for your next bite, you switch back and do it.
You know, that is true. I've never really thought about it. But I find that interesting. You guys generally just keep the fork and knife in your hand the whole time. Like you said, unless you got to go and grab something. But as you're eating the food on a plate, you'll just keep. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it, but he's right. You know, like, and I think the reason for that is, you know, right-handed is easier to cut meat. And so you would generally not only cut meat with the right hand, but also eat with the right hand. And so that would be the reason. I don't know about putting the knife on the plate like that. I can't really think if I would do that or not. I guess if there was no food in the way, but otherwise I'd sit it somewhere else, I guess. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it, but
That's such a long process. Like, what is this? Just eat like this.
But you're eating with your left
That's
hand.
another difference too. In the British version, you keep your prongs down.
Oh yeah, if you eat like this, it's so rude.
Well, you're not
What?
eating like this.
Well,
you just turn it over like this.
Yeah.
It's really rude.
What? That's considered rude to eat with your fork up? Okay, I don't get it. Like, I mean, it's the same direction as a spoon. You would eat with the spoon that direction as well. You wouldn't turn the spoon upside down to eat with. That's interesting, but I don't know about rude. Why would that be rude? I mean, I can understand if you're like shoveling food into your mouth really like in a weird way or whatever, but if you're eating in the same way, you're just flipping the fork one way or the other, it would seem like it's just like preference.
You have to eat and you have to put the food on top so that it's resting. It can
What?
sometimes get a bit difficult, and you may it may all fall, but if it falls, you just put it back and then.
Okay, so you were making a joke about American-style efficiency. That also seems very inefficient.
Actually, if you can like stab the food enough and then kind of just like make your knife rest it on top well, and then you keep it steady.
Like you have a little shelf?
Yeah.
Like you're eating like British peas and you're like stabbing them one by one.
Peas is very difficult. You just kind of put them on top with the knife, like on, say, mashed potatoes.
That makes me wonder something, guys. I've heard a lot of you talk about, what is it, mushy peas, I believe it is. Is that why mushy peas are so popular? Because the direction you use your fork, the mushy peas stick on top of the fork better, or the bottom of the fork, I guess you'd say. You know what I'm saying? It sticks on the fork better with the way that you, on average, hold your fork than it would. Well, I don't even know what mushy peas are, to be honest. Is mushy peas, is it like a soup, or is it just kind of mashed up a little bit, almost like a paste? That's not really what this video is about, but it just kind of got me thinking maybe there's something to that.
The peas will stick very well.
That's true.
On the mashed potato. So you just kind of like pile the peas on top of the mashed potato and they stay.
But the mashed potato has to go on top of the fork?
So say we're doing meat, steak, mashed potato, and peas. The steak is first, you cut it, you scoop with your knife some mashed potato on top, and then some peas on top of the mashed potato.
That doesn't seem very sophisticated. I feel like sophistication would say that you eat one thing at a time.
How are we eating peas? Like, this is just how I eat with my family. Obviously, it's not like how the queen eats or whatever, but...
Yeah, interesting. So, fork in left hand, knife in right hand. Take the meat, stab it, stab the meat.
Stab it.
Cut it. Then, you would put your knife down, flip over your fork.
Okay, I will
It's true,
show
man.
an example of meat because I do not eat it. However, we will stab and cut, and then they would pick it up. Sometimes you will use your knife to kind of assist, and then eat.
That seems more efficient.
Yeah, it's quite useful. Like the knife is super helpful, especially if like, you know, you were gonna pick up something else. Like if I wanted to then pick up, pretend this was a pea or a vegetable, and then like you can just kind of add it.
Yeah, I
on.
can see that.
Or it falls off most
Like
of the time.
a skewer sort of thing.
You just take a lot of, or it keeps falling off. You just take a lot of things at once, and then you eat a lot of things at once.
I have a question, guys. So like, do you guys tend to, when you sit down for a meal, obviously depending on the meal, I'm sure this is different, but do you guys use a knife even when you don't really need to cut much of something? Because I'm wondering if like you guys are always holding a fork and knife, generally speaking, if you're eating dinner, say. Because in the US, that's definitely not the case. I only have a knife if I'm cutting some meat or something. Like after, if I'm not cutting something, or if I can just cut it with my fork, I won't even have a knife with me. So that's something I'm curious about. Let me know in the comments section, guys, if you usually have a knife no matter what you're eating, and you hold the knife and the fork like she's doing with pretty much any dinner. Obviously, if you're eating oatmeal, you know, for example, you're gonna eat with a spoon, I'm guessing. And I'm guessing you're not going to eat with a knife at that point. That would make much sense. But that's interesting, because it seems like she uses the knife for much more than just the cutting. She seems that she uses it to drag food onto her fork. And I could see that being convenient, considering most people are right-handed and you'd want to, you know, it's your dominant hand. I am very clumsy with my left hand. I can't, like, it just does not work to do. I'm very right dominant. And so eating with my left hand would just feel so odd to me. And so I'm thinking if I was going to eat with my left hand, having a knife would be very convenient in that way, specifically because it wouldn't feel as natural to me.
White, rather than just one.
And that's
one
the
type of
official
food.
way. Just your family way.
This is how my family eats,
Yeah.
and I think that's pretty much how everyone eats.
I would say this is the official American way. I don't eat like this.
Okay, how do you eat?
I mean, I would do it very similar to the British way, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the UK, we would take a section, cut it,
Oh, what is
and
this?
then
Cutting.
proceed to eat. said section with adding other bits on top.
Okay, so if you're
Okay.
having like a steak,
Yeah, you would just
cut
cut it.
one bite at a time.
Yeah,
I would say in America, I guess some people might do it like that, but I think what often happens is like we'll cut a few bites ahead.
That's
'Cause
true.
We're gonna have to like go
Yeah,
I
anyway.
it's
think
true.
if you're doing all of that, then
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah, that's
'Cause I
very
mean,
true.
I think it would probably look bad to cut if you took a steak and just cut the entire thing. But at the same time, like if you every time had to put down and then pick this up and eat it, it would get way too aggravating, like especially if you're hungry. So you would like maybe cut off 4 or 5 bites at a time. And then
Yeah, I think that's true.
after you've eaten those,
Yeah.
go back and cut again.
I feel like British people are conditioned to eat with their left hand. Not everyone, but most people will then just, cut and then eat with this hand.
But like, what if you are only using?
Oh, that's true. I just realized something. You guys are generally, if you're eating like her, you are still the same as us. You're cutting with your right hand because I'm thinking, man, it would be very hard to cut with my left hand. I just don't have that. It just doesn't. My left hand just does not respond properly to coordination in that way. I just definitely can't use my left hand in any dominant way. But just eating with my left hand would feel so weird. I think some people, are more, what's that word? I can't think of the name of that word. But some people are able to use both hands more easily than others, and others are very dominant with one hand. And that's me, unfortunately. I'm very right dominant.
A fork.
I don't really think people just use forks in the UK. It's really weird to eat without a knife. We always
I was
have
just asking that.
to eat with them. So like our mushy peas, we would do with the knife and the mushy peas.
Okay.
The only time I have a knife, generally speaking, is if I'm going to eat steak or maybe some sort of like a pork chop or something like that. Depending on the way a piece of chicken is cut, perhaps I will use a knife with that. But if it's soft enough, I'll just use my fork to cut it. Forks are usually sharp enough on the edge to cut meat, as long as it's pretty tender. But otherwise, I just eat with a fork. Don't really use a knife otherwise.
Usually, like if we're done, you try and place them like nicely together, like this. Or some people will place it like this, weirdly, like with the knife. I can't do it, but
That seems vulgar.
yes. So usually it's just like together at the side. Maybe in the middle, I don't know. If there's food left, then I guess you will put it at the side. If it's empty, then maybe the middle, but I have been taught to place my knife and fork at the side when I'm finished.
That's interesting. I mean, is this something that is actually taught in the UK? I don't think like on average we're taught like to how to where to place a fork and knife when we're done with it. It's just like when you're done, I guess you just place it wherever it makes sense. Usually on the plate. I think maybe she's talking about like if you're at a restaurant or something and you're trying to be a little more proper. There would be a proper etiquette. You wouldn't just toss your dirty fork and knife on your napkin or something, probably. You would put it nicely on your plate, just as a respectful thing to your other guests, I guess. But it's interesting to think about this. It definitely changes depending on your social situation, your social circle, and what you're currently doing. Like if I'm at home with my wife and my daughter, no one cares. You know what I mean? But it would be different if I'm like out, like I said, a wedding is a good example. It's a completely different type of etiquette you would use eating around people at a wedding. Or if you were the type that had an office job and you had to take a client out to a meal for some reason, obviously the etiquette would be different there. But anyway, let's continue.
Together.
I mean, I have seen that way, but I think generally in the US, we kind of just
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Like it's placed on the plate. I would say
I think so, too.
If it's placed like this, you're obviously finished.
Right.
Whereas like maybe if you had done it something like this, it's like, hey, I gotta leave and come back.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the official
That's
way,
true.
but this would kind of, because you can't pick up the plate without the cutlery like making a big clang. Yeah, I would say when you're done, it's just put it in. But you wouldn't like, I know some types of etiquette, some rules of etiquette have you like crossing them.
To be like, no, don't take my food?
Yeah, I think that's like literally the thing.
Hmm.
And then like some of them are like, it depends on if the fork is up or down. This would mean that you're gonna come back, but if it's laid up, then it's like, you're done.
Yeah. So there's no like, you have to like place them nicely. It's just like you can.
I think we have that option, but it's not necessary if you can just put it on the plate.
If I did that, I would get, what are you doing? You need to place
Really?
them correctly. Like, it's seen as really rude if you're just kind of like this.
Wait, even if you're just
Especially
at
with
home?
the noise, it's really, like, we
You
have
don't
to do it
plank
very...
them down. Like, yes, I did it. But I mean, like, you just kind of like gently place them there. I'm done with the meal. Please take my plate.
I think...
By the way, this like how she's speaking is kind of the impression I had that you guys do, at least how she's making it sound is you guys do tend to have more rules around eating, and you guys tend to take mealtime a little bit more seriously than we do in the US, I think. Because like, I mean, outside of like, I was never really taught like, growing up with my family and stuff like, oh, we need to like use silverware in a certain way or place it on a plate in a certain way or something like that. It was just like, there's certain things you were taught, like, don't blow your nose at the table, for example, or, if you're a kid, how kids sometimes do, they want to pick their nose at the table, that's something you teach kids not to do. And, certain etiquette, things like that. But as for like the way we eat with silverware stuff, that's not really something that was really taught. Now, I think in, certain social circles, outside of just eating with your average family, that is different. But I'm just mainly talking about like, your eating, your average family, what they do, which I think is what she's talking about in general. It's the way she makes it sound.
In restaurants, there's a lot of people around, a lot of families. People will just talk about like general stuff. Like the weather. No, I'm kidding. Like, I don't know. They'll just talk about each other's days and whatever. At home, possibly my family could be an exception, but we tend to have quite heated conversations about politics and all kinds of
That's
things.
fun.
Depending on who's
Love that.
at the dinner table. No one ever shouts. Like, when I say heated, we just
Yeah.
get very
Yeah,
deep
passionate.
in depth about politics. But no one's ever shouting. It's very quiet and reserved, maybe.
Very British. I would say, I mean, and restaurants can get really noisy in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people laugh, people talk about anything. I mean, there have been instances of like politicians at restaurants that get overheard saying bad things because we don't, we're so much more free in our conversations at a restaurant, it might happen. At home, I think that just depends on whatever your family is like.
Yeah, it does.
My family dinners were rather quiet because it didn't really have much to say to my parents, and likewise. I would say at home, my parents were really big on not being too rowdy at the table. Even at restaurants, my parents didn't want me to be rowdy at the table.
Yeah.
But if I'm with my friends, I would definitely be much more louder.
Loud?
Much louder, yeah.
I couldn't imagine, like, it's making me really uncomfortable. Like,
Really?
being in a restaurant and being really loud, I just don't think I could do it. Like, it feels really rude because other people are eating and like, there's the staff working there and I don't know, it just feels really...
I mean, I get that.
Well, I think the question is what is meant by loud? Obviously, if you're just, you're having a conversation and you're talking like this, I'm talking to other people just like this. Some people would consider this loud. I mean, to me, I don't think this is loud. Loud to me is those people that are being obnoxious and they're like being just, it's just, yeah. Anyways, I get her point. I do question what we all have different meanings behind what we mean by certain things. Like in this case, some people will consider loud to be what other people would consider to be more quiet. You know what I mean? So I think it just depends on the person.
Mindset, but like you're in a public place.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what side does the rights lie on? Like, do you have the right to?
Oh, you have the right to. It doesn't mean that it's cool to be really loud.
Silent. I'm just saying, like, conversations at like a nice low level. So
What it
no
means-
one can hear your conversations and you're not interrupting anybody else's like meal.
Well, do you do that thing like where you, like if someone has a birthday, like you sing the birthday song? And
Yeah, like the staff will come out and sing it and whatever. And then,
Happy birthday.
no, not for that, obviously. And then other tables will actually sing happy birthday to you.
Right.
And everyone in the whole restaurant will probably be like, woo. And then
I don't think what she means by quiet, she's saying, oh, be a quiet conversation. I don't think she means what a lot of us would probably, like a lot of us in America probably perceive her to be talking about. When she says quiet conversation, we're probably thinking she's talking about like this. Actually trying to be so quiet that maybe the other people at her table couldn't hear her. I think she just means that she's talking at a respectful level. You know, she's talking loud enough to where people in her party can hear her, but and they're just having a regular conversation, but it's not so loud that everybody else can hear what they're saying. I mean, I'm the same way. You know, I'm not a very loud person at restaurants or just in general, really. I'm pretty low key, honestly. So I get that.
everyone goes back to
And then
that.
everyone goes.
So today we talked about British and American eating etiquette.
If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. See you next time. Bye.
Guys, I love that video. That was awesome. Definitely learned a few things here, guys. We definitely have some differences. I think in general, I'm the same way when it comes to a restaurant as I think you guys when it comes to the loudness thing. I'm not a loud person at restaurants, loud enough so people in my party can hear me. I'm not going to just whisper, but, I think there are those people that are absolutely ridiculously loud, and they're just this people that have no respect for anybody else in the restaurant. For example, there's been people that, you'll go out to a restaurant and then there'll be people blasting music from their phone at a couple of tables over. And how rude can you get, man? That's ridiculous, but there are those types of people, unfortunately. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have them as often in the UK, but I'm sure you have them. But yeah, there's a respectable level to have conversations with. Yeah. Anyways, but all in all, some of the stuff I'm it would take me getting used to, for example, eating with a knife and fork in each hand as the entire time I'm eating, and not switching the fork to my not switching to the fork to my dominant hand to eat, and just that would be very, very awkward for me. Obviously, I'm sure I'd get used to it after a while, which is why you guys are used to it, because you've done it all your lives. It's just not something that we generally do in the U.S. I'm sure some people do, and the flipping your fork over to eat is really interesting to me too. I'm gonna have to try that. I don't think I've ever tried that I know of. I mean, maybe by accident or something, but it's not something I've actually gone out of my way to try. See how it feels to eat that way. All in all, guys, I thought this was really interesting. But thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. And also, guys, please let me know in the comments section, do you feel that the representations of how she described British meal etiquette were accurate? Is this the way that you generally eat when you're home, for example? Is this how you generally eat when you're at a restaurant? Does your meal etiquette change depending on the environment you're in? And were you raised to eat do you consider a more formal manner than maybe how we tend to eat in the US? But anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Till next time, peace.